Hello and welcome back to the Doctor Who Marathon. I'm your host McEdam, and today we're going to be talking about the Gallifrey audio drama, A Blind Eye, written by Alan Barnes. This is the conclusion to the first season of the Gallifrey spin-off regarding the characters of Leela and Romana Varanta Lunta, or Romana for short. And this sees the conclusion of season 1. The first season of Gallifrey has a storyline going through them, and you really got to listen to each of the stories in the saga in order to understand the plot. So right off the bat, I have a criticism on this, and that you can't listen to it standalone. Despite it being a sort of standalone story, you do need the context of stuff from previous adventures. The rest of the story of the saga has been dealing with the free time movement and the Tachyon fusion device. So you might be a little bit surprised to learn that none of them take part in the finale story. It's very strange like that. This story is also the only Gallifrey story that is set on Earth. Yes, that's really cool. And the reason why I've put it here in the huge minority of canon, though technically it takes place a lot later, as I've stated in my previous Gallifrey stories, I've put them where I think they work thematically where I'm watching them, the episodes that I currently own and can watch. So here, I put this here because this story centres around aspects of Charlie Pollard's story. So you've got to know a little bit about her for it to affect you in this story. And although some of the stuff that they talk about is stuff that happens with the 8th Doctor adventures, because I'm tackling it through the 6th Doctor's eyes, I thought it'd work better here. I know it's just silly canon, but there you go. So this is the official Big Finish CD cover with Indian Fisher on the front there. And you've got Romana Valantarunta, and we've got Leela, and we've got a train, as this story is set on a train. And like always, I make my own DVD covers. This one I put together myself. I even made the logo, which I think I've stated before. That's really cool. With the TARDIS logo, indicating that no Doctor appears in this. There's the little spine, if anyone's interested. Very nice. And the back. Very nice. So story sets off with the Romana. I was going to call her the Doctor then. I've done these so many times that I forgot which character we're on about. So Romana meets up with Arcadian, the character that previously appeared in Weapon of Choice. And he's sort of this amoral, slimy wheeler and dealer bloke. And he states that he's got some vital information regarding this train in 1930s London. And he proclaims to Romana that someone's trying to upset the timeline. This poor girl who has been influenced by the Nazi Party, and she's basically she's a huge fan of Germany, specifically the Nazi Party. And when she starts learning that there's a war, basically like steaming up, like there's a huge chance there's a war going to be between her home of England and Germany, which is her favourite place. According to the original timeline, she went on a train so she can find a spot where she could end her life in the vain hope of making both those parties see reason. Obviously, it didn't work and World War II still happened. But according to the history of time, this girl was killed. And according to this character, he states that somebody is trying to alter time so that she may live for various reasons. And Romana is like, I'm not getting involved in your pebbles, on your petty squabbles. And if you have a suggestion that somebody's trying to alter time, either A, do it yourself, or B, call up the Celestial Intervention Agency, or the CIA, the Time Lords, agents that stop people from altering the timeline. But Arcadian states that he can't do that, mainly because the CIA are after him for various attempts of alterations. And two, he knows some information about the CIA that links him up with this particular incident. And he also asks for Romana just a few minutes to look the other way whilst he figures out how to sort everything himself. And Romana initially suggests that he go shove it, and she's about to head off and being like, this is ridiculous. Until he mentions the name of this girl, Sissy Pollard, the sister of Charlie Pollard. Now, it's an important thing to note, this is something that ties in with her 8th Doctor adventures. This is I'm getting from second-hand information, so I might be getting some details wrong. If I do apologise. But with Charlie, she was supposed to die during the crash of the R101, but the 8th Doctor saved her. I don't know if he knew it, if he knew she was supposed to die, but anyway, he saved her. And what happened then is that she was the focal point of this paradox. But somehow, maybe it's something to do with maybe her DNA or just the very minute chain of events, that she became a vessel for a particular energy source called anti-time, the antithesis of time. If there's antimatter to matter, then there's anti-time to time. And she gives off this perpetual energy. And what happens then is that during a incident, Romana basically looked the other way and allowed the 8th Doctor to rescue Charlie and keep her alive, and altering the timelines to an event that's so critical to the universe that if it wasn't for the fact that the 8th Doctor messed up the timeline for her to become the source of anti-time, then Gallifrey itself wouldn't be a thing. So that's a bit of Charlie's backstory from what I can gather. And basically, somebody believes that because Charlie Pollard... Arcadian first suggests that the fact that this is the sister of the 8th and 6th Doctor's companion is completely by coincidence. However, this affects Romana personally, as she is a friend of Charlie, and so she doesn't want to see any harm come to any sort of her family. And so she hires Leela to look after her in her cabin. And we meet Sissy. Now, she is also played by Indian Fisher, the actress who plays Charlotte Pollard. And she plays her basically as if Charlie was like a really hyper woman who thinks that she's still a girl, who kind of acts like a teenager, talking about like her boyfriends and stuff like that. So she's much more immature compared to Charlie Pollard. Apparently she's also met Charlie on a few of occasions after the crash of R101, so that could tie in again into the Eighth Doctor adventures. From what I can gather, this is the only appearance of Sissy, but it would be cool to see more stories with her backstory. I'll get onto that. And Leela is then trying to protect Sissy, but they kind of have a friendship, hatred relationship with one another, as obviously Leela's trying to protect her from the baddies and the CIA, but as well she also knows that she is a supporter of the Nazi Party, and there's a fantastically written scene in which Leela recognises the name from the Doctor, Hitler, and that Hitler is an evil, ruthless dictator, completely evil. And Sissy kind of explains her philosophy, Nazi ideas. And though obviously I don't follow them, it's a great rewritten because it's just so disturbing how confident, how innocent she seems about the whole idea of the Nazis. And she explains how she, at this point in time we don't know about the Holocaust yet, but we know that basically the Nazis hate the Jewish community, the Gypsies, the LGBTQ, and just basically everyone that isn't a Nazi themselves. And she's explaining it to Leela and by the extension the audience. And it's just so disturbing at just how innocent she makes it sound by the fact it's like, she says stuff like, not everybody can get along. Is that so hard that I understand that not everybody gets along? Why can't you just let the people who should be rulers, and people who should be basically the peasants? It's not my fault that that people just can't get along and different ideas. But also as well, there's also great moments in which she believes that she is superior to Leela, and Leela is like, what, do you think you're better than me? And she's like, yes, your savageness is a disadvantage, and it held, and you being part of a much more established society, you technically put them down, because people will associate you with them. And then Leela is like, can you lock this door, because people are like after them. And Sissy's like, no, of course not, I can't do that. She's like, well, look who's holding who back now. That's just a really great scene. I really love the banter between these two characters, because despite Sissy seeming really innocent, she is this groupie. She's a Nazi groupie. She's also stating that she's kind of in a rush. She kind of got on the train without even getting a ticket because her boyfriend, who was a Nazi soldier, Eric, was trying to find her, trying to follow her, and she just couldn't let that happen. And so she got on this train in a rush. And Leela's kind of look out the window as people are boarding, and she sees that somebody is getting on train. Someone's suspicious, like a detective. However, she notices that this person is Narvin, someone who she doesn't like because of reasons that I've explained in the last 3 stories. And whilst this is happening, they can hear a ticket collector, and Leela and Sissy don't have tickets. There's also another woman in their cabin Miss Joy. And there's a running gag in this story where people say, when they ask her for a name, she says Miss Joy, and people say, Joy who? And she's like, oh my god, no, Joy's my last name, not my... And I don't understand it. It's not that particularly funny, but I don't understand. It's not even like a terrible joke, but it's not even like a joke at all. It's just some weird phrase that just constantly gets repeated throughout the story, which is really strange. But it's a very small point. And everything that's happening, she kind of has this, oh my god, everybody was ridiculous in this. And it's kind of funny at the start of it. Leela comes up with a plan that when the door opens and the ticket collector asks him, she basically just beats him up and ties him up. However, she recognises the ticket collector. It's Tovak. For those of you who haven't seen my previous videos or haven't been listening to these, Tovak stated that he had to kill Andrad, Leela's husband, because Andrad was setting up a ploy to infiltrate Narvin's CIA community. So Tovak basically went up and killed him, and Andrad shot him, and he regenerated into his second incarnation. That becomes a really important part in this plot. And Leela captures him and really just hates him because obviously he killed her husband, and she just goes mental. And we get a really shocking scene where we have Leela, the savagery but sweet companion of the Fourth Doctor, basically torturing him. She's basically stating like, just killing you would be too, giving you to the authorities would be too kind on you. How about I just slowly keep cutting you up, just little bits of cuts, and then when Romana is near, I'll just stab him in both of his hearts, and just say that she fell, and it just so happened that she stabbed him twice. That's a really dark scene. But Tovak is like this. You've got to let me free. There's something amiss, and so we keep learning more. Romana and Arcadian later come up, and they're all in the same room, and Arcadian basically explains that he's actually been on this train before. He was once part of a dealership which would steal evil people like Nazis and just cruel people, and kidnap them and basically send them out to be tortured somewhere else, taken out to their insignificant people and take them out. However, something went wrong. As he remembers it, he got knocked out and got chucked out of the train in his younger version, and he learned that this was a part of a ploy to capture Sissy independently. Somebody else had their own agenda, and that the person that he hired is actually a Time Lord that was actually part of it. And so Eric actually comes up to save Sissy, and after having a struggle with Leela, he basically states that you're a savage. Of course, I'm a Time Lord. I wouldn't be seen with this groupie. I'm the one who was working with Arcadian before, and this is well, actually, from his point of view, he doesn't know about the future stuff. And when Leela explains to him that Tovak killed her husband and that she's going to try and kill anybody, Tovak, his character gets really interested and amused, and basically states that I'm so looking forward to it when I regenerate into this incarnation. And Leela's like, wait a minute. Are you trying to say that you are the first regeneration of Tolvac? And to which Eric laughs, revealing that yes, this is true. Tolvac was actually a double agent who was actually working to sell in basically secrets and stuff from outside of Gallifrey. He also believes that Romana is a weak presidency who allows savage brutes like Leela and allow for silly people to get into Time Lord society. So basically he is, in a sense, a Nazi, just not the Nazi that is consistent with Earth. And there's a really sick moment where Leela and Sissy is talking to who hears about this, and she's like, Eric, I didn't know you were so interesting. You could have had me if you were, if I knew all this. To which, like, Tolvac is like, shut up, you disgusting Nazi groupie. How many times I felt sick just hearing you talking about your Jew jokes and stuff like that. And so, basically, nobody is innocent in this. And so, Romana also learns that Tolvac was the conspirator against this. And so she captures the second Tolvac and puts him in her TARDIS, a special TARDIS which can actually freeze dematerialization. So kind of like paused it for a bit. And Leela states that she is so hell-bent in just ending this that she will kill everybody on the ship unless Tolvac talks. As he starts to panic, he's like, no, you can't kill everybody. Please, I must get to the train. Now, here's a big giant spoiler warning, right? This is a spoiler. You have been warned. He shows concern on Leela. He's like, no, you'll kill Leela. And Romana's like, why would you care? Because she's my wife. He is Andrad. We later learn that Andrad learned about all this with Tolvac, and when Tolvac tried to kill him, they both shot each other, but Andrad killed Tolvac, and that Andrad, when he regenerated, nobody could tell the difference, and so he pretended to be Tolvac to try and infiltrate the CIA and gain Narvin's confidence to see if he's got any secret information and stuff like that. And we also learned that the buyer who wants to steal Sissy to put in her collection of these evil people that she can like torture is actually Joy, who turns out to be a bobbling alien, and she starts ramping out, and it's just a lot of fun. I just love the atmosphere, the setting, everything about this story just fills a lot of great moments with character beats and character drama. After they defeat Joy, they capture the first Tolvac, to which she explains, why did you do this? Why are you trying to capture Sissy and keep her alive when you know that in history she is supposed to die at a particular moment? And he explains that he thinks that she's a weak president. But one of the things that was a very controversial thing to do is that she refused to acknowledge the Eighth Doctor's act in saving Charlie and allowing her to continue to exist. So, in a way, it's Romana's blind eye. She decided to turn up her blind eye to the situation. And Tolvac wasn't happy with that, thinking that she has let out this power of anti-time, which could be used as a great weapon against Gallifrey. And so what he wanted to do is take his sister, do the same thing in the hopes that she will also become a vessel of anti-time, and basically reveal that she about this, which will then start the conspiracy and show that Romana is unjust. Basically, he made her want to cause havoc throughout time so that everybody can see that Romana isn't a capable Gallifreyan president. But the plan failed as Romana, basically with hatred in her voice, proclaims for him to get his memory wiped so that he doesn't know that his future self will die and get replaced with Andrad. Leela then looks at this Andrad character, and she proclaims that her husband is dead. She's done with her grieving, and now it's time for her to move on. But Andrad is like, Leela, look at me, please, really. And he's so heartbroken by this, but he put himself in this situation. And so the story ends with a letter, Sissy reading out her letter that she's writing to Charlie Pollard, and she's saying, I was in love with Germany, and I was in love with the UK. I love both cities, but they were both getting tougher to live with whilst they started the brim of war, and I need to do this. Don't be sad, you are so much better than I. My life had amounted to, I did everything I wanted to, despite it amounting to very little. And so then you hear a gun. And she dies. In her proper place, in her proper time. And that's The Blind Eye. Overall, it's actually, I think this is easily the best one of the series, and if it was a lot more self-contained, I would highly recommend it. However, this story does heavily rely on you being aware of the 3 previous adventures with Arcadian and the whole idea of the conspiracy of Leela and her missing husband Andrad and the Tolvac situation, and as well, which is also kind of a struggle for me, although I just read stuff on the internet and stuff, that the story also heavily relies on the story arc told in the 8th Doctor monthly range adventures. So I can't recommend it. I can't with good conscience recommend it because it doesn't work as a self-contained story. It's a great story. This is easily the best in the Gallifrey stories that we've listened to. But because it can't hold on its own, you need the backdrop. You can't listen to this right off the bat and be like, and justifiably have an opinion on it, which I think really hurts it in terms of my personal point of view. But there you go, that's Gallifrey Blind Eye. So join me next time where the Doctor and Charlie will be meeting up with the Daleks, as well as bear witness to a virus that spreads across the galaxy. So join me next time for Patient Zero. And I'll see you next time on the Doctor Who Marathon. Ta-da!